This is the No Strings Podcast with Rel Simon. What's up, y'all? Welcome back in podcast episode 56, and this one is titled Dream Sequence. And I don't even know how long this one is going to go. Maybe it'll go 20 or 30 minutes, or maybe it'll be shorter. This is definitely an impromptu episode, something I've just been thinking about over the last few days. No Strings Podcast with Rel Simon. Hopefully you're enjoying your holiday. I'm recording this on the holiday, Columbus Day or Indigenous Peoples Day, however you view it. And on top of that, a short week this week, getting ready to go to Comic-Con as I went last week and not last week, but last year. So a lot of exciting things. I don't know if I'm going to do something for Comic-Con or not. Maybe YouTube or TikTok video, maybe not a podcast episode. I don't know, but no more playing around. I got the intro out of the way, and I just wanted to talk about the American Dream, which is why this is titled Dream Sequence. Now, the American Dream is really broad. I've got an article here from fastercapital.com. What is the American Dream? And they state that the American Dream is a concept that has been debated over time and is still relevant today. It's a belief that every individual, regardless of their background, race, or social status, has the opportunity to achieve success and prosperity through hard work, determination, and resilience. The American Dream is not limited to a specific group of people. It's a universal concept that defines what it means to be American. However, the definition of the American Dream has evolved over time, and what once was a symbol of hope and prosperity has become a source of frustration and disappointment for some. The American Dream is not a guarantee. It's a belief that with hard work, anyone can achieve success and prosperity. However, this belief is not a guarantee that everyone will achieve success. The reality is that some people may work hard and still not achieve their goals due to factors beyond their control, such as economic fluctuations or discrimination. The American Dream is not just about wealth. While the American Dream is often associated with achieving material wealth, it's not limited to financial prosperity. For some, the American Dream is about achieving personal goals, such as owning a home, raising a family, or starting a business. It's about the pursuit of happiness and freedom to choose one's path in life. The American Dream is not the same for everyone. What success and prosperity mean to one person may be different from what it means to another. Some may define this as achieving financial stability, while others may see it as making a positive impact on society. And finally, the American Dream is not dead. Despite the challenges and setbacks that some individuals may face, the American Dream is still alive and well. There are countless stories of individuals who have overcome adversity and achieved success through hard work and determination. So just my quick rapid thoughts on that. I do believe that the American Dream isn't dead. You've got a lot of millionaires, billionaires, a lot of celebrity people, also a lot of average people like you and I who have worked so long to build their foundation and to retire comfortably. Retiring comfortably is a version of an American Dream. What I want in my head, I see the American Dream as for the longest time owning a home, wife, 2 children. Sometimes in the media, you have the white picket fence, the full size single family home, and I think I'll get into more detail into what I truly believe my American Dream is, as where I am right now in the age of 36. But it's just an interesting article because I do, and this is a wealth, obviously, focused podcast, and I did have a lean or a bias towards like the American Dream means that you've made it, you're wealthy, you've got everything. But I do like how the article talks about making having a positive impact on society. Maybe you work at a food bank, maybe you own a business or a nonprofit where you're helping victims, survivors of abuse or survivors of drug abuse, trying to help prisoners who are wrongfully convicted through prison reform and get them out of their sentences, everything like that. Hard work and success. A lot of people do work hard. A lot of people try to be as successful as they can be. That's absolutely true. And so everything that's said here is interesting, because the American dream is just so broad, and you can't really pinpoint it down into one specific thing. But the reason why I have the episode today is I just have a lot of thoughts, because there are a lot of setbacks when it comes to that. We do know there is discrimination in the United States. I think I read somewhere where Uber or Lyft will price depending on a certain location in the city. Not necessarily a person's skin tone, but obviously star ratings matter in terms of how you are as a passenger, how you are as a driver. But I did read somewhere where there's like a bias in certain cities where it may cost more for a person if you're in this part of town and maybe you've been Uber member, or maybe you're African American or versus Indian, right? And you're going to taking the same ride, same route, same distance, same time, and there may be a fluctuation or a difference in price. And obviously, of course, with the upcoming election, where we have a Caucasian candidate and an African American candidate, not only just African American female versus a Caucasian male. There's definitely racial and gender-based undertones underneath that. But I think the American dream, hopefully you can achieve your American dream. I think that's what I want to press on and reassure you if you're listening to this right now. Hopefully you figure out what your American dream is and you are able to pinpoint that and work towards it. But it's hard given the socioeconomic, racial, as I just pointed out, and the climate challenges we face in this country. A part of the reason why I wanted to bring it up is because of all the hurricanes that have been happening in Florida recently. Hurricane Helene and Hurricane Milton. I first want to send my thoughts and prayers out to all the families and victims of the hurricanes and to those people that are still trying to rebuild those places that are still without power. But climate change is one thing. And I saw another video on YouTube where if you're living on the coast, you think about the rising sea levels and how is it really that wise to be owning a property near the water, near the coast, either coast, East Coast, West Coast, or even in the South. I was scrolling through YouTube, one video from a More Perfect Union talking about rent hikes. There are a lot of people going on rent strikes. A lot of people can't afford the rent, right? But what is the American dream if you can't afford where you're staying? If you can't budget, or if you don't know how to budget, or you just don't have enough money. And one of the commenters on YouTube, at Matt the Wallin 787, he posted a comment under the video saying, "Get a job, work endlessly, not enough money, work even more, then become too old and tired to continue, ... the American dream, !" And there are a lot of people who are in that situation. I did an episode a long time ago, but No Strings About Retirement, Part 1, where there's a lot of seniors who don't have enough money to retire. And that sort of process, that as you live your life, you're working 25, 30 years of your life, maybe even more. hopefully you saved enough money to retire. In the process, you own a home, you may have children, end up having grandchildren. So with that, by the time you're like 65 or 70 years old, you're empty nesters and you're going on bus trips, cruises, flying around the world and enjoying life in the later years of your life. When you come across rent hikes, a lot of people who are already not making enough money, a lot of people become sort of fed up, pessimistic, skeptic of trying to attain success, or even having a belief that attaining that success is possible. CNN had a video where they were doing an interview with the Hillsborough County Sheriff regarding the rising waters down in Florida. And there's another comment down here from @Lubell-8XF, who states, for thousands of years, Florida has been shaped and reshaped by powerful hurricanes. Urban development was never supposed to be there. Water always wins. The best thing I ever did was to move the hell out of that beleaguered state. Now, I've only been to Florida once, Orlando, a long time ago. And granted, Florida is a beautiful state. You got Tampa, Orlando, Sarasota, Fort Lauderdale, the glitz and glamour of Miami. And in terms of flights, I mean, you can get to so many of the islands in a blink of an eye from Florida Panhandle. And I'm sure it's a wonderful, wonderful place to live. But that's the thing. When you're living down in the coast, Houston, New Orleans, well, not Houston, but New Orleans, near the Gulf, or even like around the edge of the bay on the West Coast, whatever. But specifically in the southeastern part of the United States, a lot of these homes, and when you buy your home insurance, you have to have flood insurance attached along with it. And to me, just personally, my home can't be that close to a body of water. We're given the climate change. Again, I've seen videos of these beach houses standing on those stilts and reinforced beams and everything like that, but they're still crashing down, flowing into the water. It becomes a safety hazard. I remember doing the Habitat for Humanity years ago and rebuilding some houses down in the New Orleans, Slidell area, and how like a lot of those homes are built elevated on blocks or elevated beams so that they're not touching the ground flush, so that when there is flooding, it doesn't damage the first floor and basement. Well, you wouldn't even have a basement. You either have like one. A lot of the homes we worked on were like one level, maybe two level, but mostly one level homes. And I'm sure there's development like that in Florida as well, or and you just had a lot of storms in North Carolina. My thoughts and prayers to people in North Carolina as well. But what I want to get at is that if you go back to the next, not even the first comment. Let's say you get a job, you work all your life, you got retirement, you got everything saved, and you live in a certain part of the country, and then all of that is just wiped away. It doesn't even have to be by a hurricane or a tornado. It doesn't have to be by a flood. Could be by fire. Could be by whatever. Earthquake messes up your home. And everything you've built, you've worked so hard for. Buying that $400,000, $500,000 house, and then in the blink of an eye can just be gone. Or sometimes I think about how in DC, right, you work all your life, X, Y, and Z. All it takes is one bad night. You run up on some people and you get shot at, and unfortunately lose your life and whatever. And then the other part is the layoffs. I just did. Actually, before I get to the layoffs, let me go back to the thing about FEMA, because I saw a couple episodes or some videos on YouTube about FEMA where FEMA is starting to run out of money. The governmental fiscal year just started. And FEMA, if it was said from CNN.com, after getting a recent infusion of around $20 billion from Congress to spend on hurricane season, FEMA is now down to $11 billion in its disaster relief fund, Administrator Deanne Criswell told reporters Wednesday. So this was 4 days ago from what is today, October 14th, so October 10th. But FEMA.gov, they even posted on their own website, rumor FEMA does not have enough money to provide disaster assistance for Helene. FEMA has enough money right now for immediate response and recovery needs. If you were affected by Helene, do not hesitate to apply for disaster assistance, as there is a variety of help available for different needs. So who knows if it's true or not. We do know that there's been a lot of funding, and granted, it is alarming how the fiscal year just started late September, the first beginning of October of the governmental fiscal year. And granted, Congress and the government, they allocate money to FEMA every year for assistance for times like this. And we can only hope and pray that these sort of disasters can stop within this fiscal year. Who knows what happens if they truly run out of money? That's something we don't know. But as of right now, it seems like that's sort of hearsay and a rumor. Now getting back to the layoffs. I talked about the layoffs in my last episode, playoffs. But you see these articles, Boeing to lay off roughly 10% of its workforce. Intel employees prepare for layoff notices as cuts enter peak phase this week. General Motors, iconic car discontinued, thousands facing layoffs. TikTok layoffs. Amazon work from home. People are being forced to come back to work, and there's layoffs there. And that's the thing. When you don't have a job, how can you achieve at least a portion of this American dream? Granted, yeah, it's maybe materialistic having the home and the car, but there is that financial stability. It's hard. When I was in Union Station the other day, grabbing some Taco Bell, I got a meal. I wasn't planning on drinking the drink. I gave the drink to the homeless guy. You see a lot of homeless people that are still to this day out and about without a home, without a stable situation. Some of them have mental issues, which is unfortunate. Some of them don't. And a lot of them are just trying to scrape by and are mentally acute and aware, but just can't afford it. Some people are forced into homelessness because of the rising home prices. Some people can't afford to eat, right? And there's just so many people. Granted, in D.C., 600,000, 700,000 people in D.C., and there's so many people in the United States. There's almost 8 billion people in the world. I get it. But I'm glancing down. For some, the American dream is about achieving personal goals. So you definitely need some type of goal, some type of benchmark. If it's feeding 100 people at a homeless shelter every single day for the rest of your life, maybe that's the American dream. If it's saving $500,000 in retirement, or being a millionaire or $2 million, if you want to be the next American Idol, maybe that's your American dream. You want to sell a bunch of records, paint a bunch of pictures, or if you want to be a world traveler, or perhaps you want to be a pilot, perhaps you want to be president, a judge, or perhaps whatever, right? Being able to achieve that job. But being laid off, for some, it's a hurdle and a setback that they don't know how to recover from. For others, it's a temporary phase where they just try to push through. So, I don't know. That's also why I titled it Dream Sequence, because it's almost like some days you wake up, you have good days, we all have good days, we all have bad days, maybe living in some type of dream sequence, some type of simulation. When you see these disasters, and when you hear these mass shootings, you think, is this even real? I may not be living in some type of American dream. I may be living in some type of twisted dream or some type of horrible nightmare. When you get laid off from a job, you may look at the paper. Is this a dream? Oh my goodness. And so those are just a few things that just kind of irk me, where you need a job, you need to have financial stability. It's hard being able to save for the future for a lot of people, hard being able to budget. As you go through each and every single day, every 2 weeks when you get paid, every week when you get paid, every month, whatever. When you finally make it or get to that point where when you get older, will you still have to work, or have you finally made it to that point? When you finally make it to that point, how many sort of years will you have to enjoy the fruits of your labor? Hopefully plenty of years to enjoy the fruits of your labor. Cross your fingers and Lord willing. And hopefully during that path, you kind of move scot-free and you don't come across natural disasters or deaths in the family or unfortunate circumstances. And I didn't even touch the health and safety aspect, right? With the cost of having insurance or health, right? The diabetes situation in America, the mental situation in America, and everything like that. Or, as in my scenario, again, I say like wife, children. Maybe I want to have like 1 or 2 kids, a home, of course, car. I wouldn't say like a white picket fence, but you see a lot of these videos nowadays. I watch so much YouTube, but granted, what if the marriage doesn't work out and she takes the home, has custody of the kids and everything? You've seen a lot of guys just sort of go to a downward spiral and they end up being depressed. Or on the flip side, right? If the guy just takes everything, and then where does that leave the woman? Depending on certain jurisdictions, there's child support. Is there a bias on the child support on a man versus a woman, or a woman versus a man? There's so many things, right? Because as you're working through your American dream, you and your partner, your female partner or your male partner, you come together and your dream kind of combines, and you have these children, and no one ever wants to be divorced. No one ever wants to see their children in a state of sorrow. You want to see them succeed and grow, and you don't want to outlive your children. And living the American dreams for some people is maybe being a grandpa, a grandma, seeing them graduate, walk across the stage, whatever. So I'm glad I was able to look through this article and see that it is very broad, but it's just hard. It's just hard because there's a lot of things fighting against us. Because each and every day we all get up and go to work, do what we have to do. And sometimes there are just days where there are just challenges. Some people may just straight up not like you or disagree with how you work or whatever. And that's just how life is. But also at the same time, finances aside, just trying to be a successful person. And if your goal, for some people, they don't want children. Some people, they do want children. But it kind of takes me back to Arlette Amuli, her YouTube channel, The Pop the Balloon. If y'all may have seen that, where they line up women or men in a row, in a line, and man or a woman comes across. It's kind of like a dating show. And then you ask a bunch of questions, and it's process of elimination by popping the balloon. But the craziest thing is, for some people, as soon as the person that's selected next, as they walk onto the stage and you see the line of women or the line of men, right? Let's take the guy, for example. Say a guy walks on and he's got 8 women or whatever. There's a high chance that some of those balloons will be popped based off of what you got on. You might be bald or balding. One tooth may be crooked or whatever. Shoes may not be right. Outfit may not be right. And a woman to pop the balloon based off the appearance right then and there. And you haven't even spoken a word yet about what you do, where you go, There was one video where the guy was talking about what he does and this and that, and there was a notion from one of the chicks who was an exotic dancer with 2 kids, blah, blah, blah. She wanted her balloon back, then they ended up matching, and I was looking at that, and I was just like, that probably ain't working out. Like, she got some ulterior motives, but maybe, and I say that to say, like, maybe that's part of the American dream, or maybe it's that dream sequence where attaining that wealth, the home, the family, or maybe you do have a business. You have a business storefront or like an online shop, but if you got that fancy house, you live in the American dream. It's part of that appearance. Your looks is part of that appearance. I'm not, some people are a professional model and they're living the American dream by being professional models, Victoria's Secret models or Gap models or whatever. But appearance is key. We've got a certain standard in the United States for sure. And one thing that I always like to think about is if you took a bunch of people at a dinner party, and let's say in America, like there was equal wealth throughout the United States, like McDonald's workers making, let's do 90 grand. No, let's do 100 grand. Say everybody in America made 100 grand. McDonald's workers made 100 grand. Or you have the sanitation workers, waste management, garbage guys making 100 grand, and you're all in this dinner party with investment bankers, hedge fund managers, whatever. And to me, I have a hunch where some people aren't like that. They aren't colorblind or biased based off their job. But if everyone in that room was making the same amount of money at this dinner party, some of those hedge fund managers will probably look at that McDonald's worker a certain way or that garbage person a certain way still, even though you're all on equal footing making the same amount of money. So yeah, there's just always that, for some people, monkey on your shoulder, head on a swivel type of mentality. And it's so hard given the climate, the weather, the climate change, everything's changing. Our body, we're living longer, and that probably, granted, has an adverse effect. You're going to need more money so that you can be able to live longer and sustain yourself during your later years, or if you're not taking care of someone else. But I think it's, in closing, as I pretty much went the amount of a normal podcast, it just be just off random thoughts. There were really just no notes with this one, but I just wanted to just talk about the American dream, because I've said it verbally a few times in a few of my podcast episodes in the past, and I think in closing, it's still attainable. It's very difficult. Granted, you do have to define or pinpoint what your American dream is. But with all this chaos and everything going around, you really just have to hunker down and focus on yourself, your loved ones. Granted, if you're in a space to help the community, definitely do that. But if you're in the camp that you believe in the American dream, that's cool. If you're on the other side where you think the American dream is a bunch of BS, then that's cool too. Right? It's all subjective. So that's all I got for this episode. Dream sequence. Are you living in a dream sequence right now? Or are you living in this fantasy world, or is it reality? Have you achieved so much of what you got going on? For me, I think I'm well on my way. There's still a couple of things that I really don't have yet, and I'm just still trying to figure it out. But again, they talk about dream deferred, dream sequence, dream chasers. It was all a dream. All the puns can go on, but nah, that's all I got for this episode, y'all. Hopefully y'all enjoyed, and I will see you on the next one. Peace. Thank you for listening to the No Strings Podcast with Rel Simon.